One, two, three. Every time.
Hello there.
Hello, my
Hey, I've been
friend.
reading. I've been reading about quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and I guess it's possible that we could physically do a fist bump like transcontinental. That's super geeky stuff.
That is
Maybe,
something that maybe we should try. Maybe for
we
next
should try.
week. What about that?
Yeah, maybe
Next week?
we'll figure it out.
Okay. We will figure it out.
Hey, so Sunday leftovers on a
Mhm. Oh,
very cold Austin morning. I think it's. Let me be precise, not to exaggerate. It is exactly freezing, which to us is. Hang on, weather app not working. Come on, weather app. I think it's like 61 degrees. And I'm dying. 61 is not cold. It's a joke. It is exactly, whoa, it's 50 degrees. That's why I'm dying.
wow. That's why.
It's good to be here. Good
But
to be
you're
here.
you're well dressed and you're
Always,
under a
always.
roof. Radio has a.
I'm
Do you
a,
have
yeah,
heat?
I'm under, I do. Look, ready,
Uh,
set. See that? Radiant heat. There you go. Professional. This is definitely professional setup. So we ended our run through what the church calls mean time or green
right.
time or post Pentecost time, and we've run the clock out now. And so Advent begins next Sunday, and I have a private confession tonight.
That's
You ready?
right. Okay, I'm
Can you
ready.
put on your little priestly stole and receive a confession on a Wednesday? Ready? Here we go. He's got one. Ah, it's a guitar strap. He's a geek. Here's my confession. I'm
Tell
always
me, my
relieved
son.
when mean,
Tell me, my son.
right? I'm always relieved when meantime ends and we get back to Advent because there's structure to the seasons of anticipation, right? So Advent is the 4 week march up to Christmas, and then we go into Epiphany, which I love, 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 love. Epiphany. It's the time when we study the visitation of the three magi, and we really dig into the universal nature of the revelation of God in the man Jesus Christ.
Right.
And then we slide right into Lent, which prepares us for Easter, and then Easter does this little march up to Pentecost, and then it drops us off at the mall with nothing to do until Advent. So I'm always relieved. I'm always relieved. So here we are. We've been working on
Enjoy.
Advent, but
Enjoy the time.
yeah,
Enjoy this time. I know it's your
yeah,
favorite. I know. That's fine.
it's my favorite. It's my favorite. In fact, the sermon for next Sunday is in such disarray because I have so many inspired little tidbits that don't align at all. So I got lots of work to do after the video shoot today. But last week we talked about the parable of the sheep and the goats.
Whoa.
We ended up in Matthew 25, and as I reread it this morning, do you have something you want to say? Yeah.
No, no. I mean, that
Yeah.
parable is one of, if it's not my favorite, probably is on the top five on my
So
favorites.
I have a love-hate relationship with it because it was used as a source of great manipulation and a source of great fear for me. Molly Burpo put her finger on this while we opened the mic last Sunday morning. It was used to sort of cajole me as a young Pentecostal evangelical into uh, serving the least of these, quote unquote. And of course, that was anybody but me. Anybody was, you know, it cajoled me into a kind of behavior modification so that I wouldn't be found to be a goat when Jesus or God, whatever, had to separate the sheep from the goats. And I
Right.
think what's funny about it is just like so many times is the case, that's a massive adventure and totally missing the point of the story. So I don't think, I summarize it in several different ways. I don't think that's a parable about a God who divides. I think that's a parable about a God who hides in broken bodies and broken people.
Right. But you,
And the
I'm
reason,
sorry.
yeah,
I'm sorry that I'm interrupting you, but
go.
that is one of our biggest flaws when we go to the Bible is that we focus in the wrong place.
Yep,
And just because of that, we create all kinds of
yep,
stupid interpretations about the Bible, usually to make other people feel guilty and condemned and manipulate them.
yeah.
So I totally got what
I
you're
think,
saying.
yeah, I think we read scriptures with great anxiety. The anxiety we bring to the text is, oh my God, I hope I'm going to heaven. And so we look at
Right.
everything soteriologically. We look at everything as a statement about salvation or not. We forget the universal claims of Jesus. We forget the universal claims, even in
That's right.
Paul. And we go down into these things, and all we want to do is be certain that we're not the goats, that we are the sheep, right? And so it creates
Yeah.
this really skewed. But listen, Christians have been misreading the text since it was written. If you look at the chapter headings, I think someday I want to write a book on all the parables that are mistitled, right? So like this one, if you look at this one in the New Revised Standard Version, which is my favorite of the versions, it says "Judgment of the Nations." Matthew 25. It's literally a complete missing of the point. I don't think that's the story here at all.
Immediately impose a theological view. It's about, you are about to read about this, so better you see that.
Right. So it's like we're on safari. We're looking for zebras, right? And there's a lion crosses right in front of us. We're like, nope, that's not a zebra. It's just so ridiculous. But I don't think the story is. I don't think, just like Parable of the Talents, it's not about money or how to. It's not about stewardship. It's about what happens when you begin your relating to God from a basis of fear. Well, similarly, I think the parable of the sheep and the goats is more about where God is hiding out, where you can find the work of God, the activity of God, than it is about who's getting divided. I don't think any of us are confused, at least any of us in our little ecosystem in the landscape that sort of is part of ANC. We get that Jesus is a universal revelation of God to all creatures and all things, and yet we read this text and are reminded about how we almost need there to be a bunch of goats going to hell and eternal damnation so that we can feel good about being sheep. And I think it's an enormous mistake. Here's what I think. So Matthew is wrapping up a series of stories in which he's basically saying, okay, what do we do while we wait for the return of in their mind, the return of Jesus, in however you want to look at it? What do we do while we're waiting for the apocalypse, for the end times, for the consummation of all things? And basically what he's saying, I think, as a capstone to those stories is, let's be sure that while we're waiting, we understand that God never left. As long as there are poor and sick and broken and thirsty and hungry, that's where we find God. So Matthew 25 is not a reminder that says, here, do these things out of anxiety so that when God returns, you're on the good side. It's a reminder that God never left the world that we inhabit.
Oh my goodness. When you're saying that, it totally resonates with me, because, at the end of the Gospels, we read that part when Jesus said, and I'll be with you until the end of the world. And sometimes we think that, okay, he will be with me, to face my issues, my personal issues, which also is true, but we forgot that perspective, that he is with us because he's there hidden in broken people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we're so focused. So Matthew gives us this language of a kingdom, right? And I don't love that language. You guys know this. I don't love that language. Because a kingdom is good news if you're the king or the daughter of the king or the son of the king. If you're part of the little inner circle, it's relatively good news. If you're anyone else, the kingdom is not a great deal because all of the resources get stacked up as at the castle, at the disposal of the king. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Matthew gives us this kingdom language, right? But then we wander around looking for this kingdom, but what we're actually looking for is the power to be relieved of our oppression, to be liberated from the things we suffer from. And I think this is a great reminder that actually this is where we're obsessed about the power of the kingdom, who's in, who's out. And the reality is we should be looking for where's the king?
Right.
Where's the king? What's profound about this parable that I don't think I'd seen until just now in my life is that both those who did righteousness as well as those who did not, both of them were completely oblivious to where the king was, because they say the same thing. When he says, hey, I'm going to gather on my right side all the sheep, because you took care of all of these situations, you are considered righteous. And they're like, well, wait a second, we did it. That was you? We had no idea that was you. Which is exactly the same response.
It's like a naive generosity, which is something that I love. I love it.
It's like we were just being the people we are. What do you mean it was you? I love that.
But I love that because that points directly to your motivation. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we do good to people because I don't like that guy. I'm trying to be good with that guy because at the end this is for the Lord. Yeah. That totally cancel that
Mhm.
person.
That's right. That's using that person as a stepping stone, como un escalón, to
Right.
please God. And the reality is I think the king is saying, no, 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 no. I'm hiding in the broken bodies of real people around you. Think
Right.
about how that changes our view of Christianity. We come to the text with anxiety around who's in, who's out, because we live in fear. I mean, Matthew is stacking these bricks, and we've been following him now for several weeks. The foundational assumption about God must not be fear. It must be more than fear. But we come to God in fear that we're going to be left out when he does this closed little loop and says, okay, I want these people with me and the rest, I want you to go to hell. Y'all, it's just time to be done with that. That misses so many layers to the truth.
Yeah.
It just misses so many layers. So it's a relief to be able to look at these old texts that, to be honest, about half the week last week, I found myself even telling the rabbi, I think I hate this text this week. I don't like the Bible this week because I mean, all of the
Switch,
trauma around,
switch,
yeah,
switch the
right.
sacred book. Switch the sacred
Yeah,
book.
no, dude,
Look at that.
Daniel and Ezekiel are totally, totally hallucinogenic to me. Like I can't. Those dudes were microdosing something ancient. I can't do that either. So I can't very well switch the text with the rabbi. But I found myself complaining. Like I don't want to read this anymore. I'm tired of the polarities and the binaries. I'm tired of the you're in, you're out, the black, you're white.
Right.
Tired of that. And so I was in a conversation with someone just the other day at a music event. Here's how it works for me. We talked about this in our new partner class. My Christology sits on top of my biblical theology. So if the Bible says God is angry, he's going to throw people out to the where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's biblical theology because that's what's in the text. But I always am going to submit that to what I know to be true about God in Christ, which is that all are welcome. All are welcome. Even in the Jewish concept, there isn't even a hell. And so we're not talking about eternal,
Right.
conscious, corporal punishment. We're talking about one more lap around awareness until you realize in a deeper sense how it is that God is so involved in your life and so near. That's much closer to the idea of damnation or eternal punishment or whatever that comes from Scripture. It's
But
not this once and for all thing. It's okay. Take another lap at the airport because the flight hasn't landed. Let's do this one more time. Let's do
but
this 40 years. They have to. Yeah.
but in religion, we usually, I mean, we are not happy with our heaven. We need to
Mhm.
send everybody else to hell. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much like that. I mean, it's not enough. It's not enough that I'm happy. I need you
Mhm.
to be unhappy.
Unhappy. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Or
and
another way to say it would be, I will only be happy if only I can be happy.
yeah, which is
Right?
so selfish. It's so selfish.
You know what that does? That tells us that we have not yet been transformed by love. We just haven't. We haven't. And so, we preach the gospel and hope that someday the choir will convert to its own gospel, and we get ourselves in proximity to the sort of stories that retell again and again and again how it is that God is found in the material world. That's the point of the incarnation. Now, that's the opposite end of the Christian calendar, right?
Right.
Well, actually, I guess that spans from Advent all the way through Lent. But if God is not findable in bodies, in the eyes of the poor, in the eyes of
Right.
the thirsty, and if God is not locatable there, then we have to rebuild everything. The thing is God is. God is. God always has been.
Yeah.
We've just built this institution around who's right, wrong, who's in, who's out, and it's time to let it go. So we're going to be doing that work in Advent. We're going to be tracing the reality that God is findable, that we can find God if we go back 13.7 billion years, if we move forward into the wilderness where we feel alone, if we move into the face of the stranger and the friend, if we move into our bodies at every concentric level of the known cosmos, God is findable. I would say prime initiator. I would say prime photon if you want to get into the world of quantum physics. So we're moving back into the part of the year where our Christian claim is the universal availability of the very life of God in the material world. And so it's always encouraging. So I guess that's why I love Advent so much. It's a reset. It's a reminder. It
Yeah.
really
It's a
is. So
reminder. And I love it.
there you go. Hey,
There you go.
we're short this week. I
Yeah.
love it because
But
I'm dying. I'm freezing.
not really short. I mean, it's 15
We were
minutes.
long last week. Yeah.
That's great. So,
That's good enough.
but it's good enough. So this was
I can't
some
feel my toes.
leftovers.
I can't feel my toes. It's 51 degrees and I can't feel my toes. I'm going to run inside and order some hot tea and stick my toes in some hot tea.
You need to use real shoes, not those sandals. Are you wearing sandals?
Nope. I'm wearing loafers with no socks.
Okay.
Listen.
And
I'd rather
you
be
are
cold.
complaining. And you are complaining. Oh my goodness. Oh
Such
my
a first
goodness.
world problem. All right,
Oh
ready?
mercy.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, sir!
Kapow.
Oh!